Hey Dad, what are you making?
On today's episode, we're making bang bang chicken bowls. Sometimes dinner needs to be a little bit sweet, a little spicy, a whole lot of flavor. That's where these bowls come in. We'll start by slicing some chicken. I'm using chicken thighs here. We're going to go ahead and slice these and then dice them into about 1-inch chunks. Doesn't need to be pretty, but we just want to make sure that we get them somewhat uniform so that we can get them on the skewers fairly easily. Then, once they're in the bowl, let's go ahead and put about a tablespoon of garlic powder on there. And then next, we're going to add a little bit of paprika. I want about a teaspoon of this as well. Then I want about a teaspoon of fresh cracked pepper too. Then I want 2 big pinches of salt here. We want to make sure that we add this in right now so that way it can marinate just a little bit. Give it a mix, and then let's get all those flavors to join together. Now, just for ease, I'm putting these onto some metal skewers. You want to get those on there fairly nice and tight. If you need to, you can go ahead and loop them around a little bit, but make sure they're packed in fairly well. Then, once you've got them all skewered up, we're going to move on to our next ingredients. Here I'm using some fresh broccoli. I'm going to go ahead and cut the stems off and then go ahead and pull some of these pieces to make sure that they're fairly bite-sized and we don't have so much of that hard end. So go ahead and slice them up. Alright, then go ahead and clean up your board. Unfortunately, I forgot my bench scraper back, so I had to grab it real quick to pull it out and make sure we scrape up all those bits and put them away. Next, we're going to make our bang bang sauce. Starts with about a cup of Duke's mayo, or any mayo, but Duke's is our way to go. Then we use a little bit of sweet Thai chili sauce. I want about 1 to 2 tablespoons here. Then some sriracha. Again, this is where you can control your heat, but it's a scenario where about a tablespoon will do for most of the kids in the family, but you can add more if you'd like it. And lastly, we're going to add just a little bit of honey. This is going to bring a little extra sweetness that the Thai chili sauce has, but we want some more here too. But we have to be careful when we're actually making this because it will be a scenario where if that honey gets a little too much heat, it's going to burn. Lastly, about a teaspoon of paprika. Then give it a mix. Next, you know me, I'm going to go out to the Blackstone and we're going to griddle this. So I put down about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. Then we're going to put down our chicken skewers. Now, if you don't have a Blackstone, you can certainly do this on an inside griddle pan. You can also do this just in a non-stick pan as well. But I love what this brings to the table to make sure that we can actually do all these chicken skewers at once. Then we can also bring in that broccoli and roast those also. Now, to bring that broccoli in, I'm going to put down another tablespoon of olive oil. We're going to lay down the broccoli on top of that, and then we're going to make sure that it gets spread all around. You'll notice I haven't actually seasoned the broccoli at this point, so I'm bringing down a heavy pinch of salt and spraying that all over. Then we're going to bring down some garlic powder and then a little bit of onion powder as well. But we want to make sure that we get that on there so it doesn't burn. While all that's cooking on the griddle, let's go ahead and slice up some ginger. Like I mentioned, we're going to put this into the broccoli. We want to make sure we get it fairly diced small. It's okay if there's a little bit of skin on there as well, but we're going to put that down onto the griddle. and then go ahead and toss everything around a little bit to make sure that there's a nice char. You may need a little more oil. You can see that's what I'm doing here. The other thing we can do while everything's on the griddle is go ahead and take some of that bang bang sauce and put it into a separate bowl. So that way it can touch some of that raw chicken. We're going to keep the rest of that sauce set aside to actually put on the bowl later. But let's go ahead and put some of it on here now that the chicken's got a little bit of caramelization and that honey and everything else is not going to burn just yet. So that's why we start to brush it on a little bit earlier here and about halfway through the cook. Alright, let's go ahead and add that garlic and that ginger into the party a little bit. So we're going to bring the ginger in. That's that sliced ginger that we did. And then there's a little bit more of the garlic powder and now some olive oil. Go ahead and spread it around a little bit. Make sure that it all gets mixed together. Now, once everything looks golden and roasty on the broccoli, go ahead and pull that off. We want to make sure it doesn't brown too much and doesn't get too burnt. So you can pull it aside. Then go ahead and start flipping your chicken again. You'll notice that there's a little bit of that caramelization I was talking about, but it's not burning too much. If it seems like it is, this is where you've got to flip and rotate things just a little bit to make sure that it has even coverage. Now, once those skewers hit about 165, let's go ahead and pull them off. Let's take a look and see how they're doing with that broccoli. It's looking gorgeous. Now, what we want to do is just do a little bit of cleanup on the Blackstone. You want to scrape off some of those bits to make sure that you don't have too much caramelization, that you don't have to deal with later. It's much harder when it cools down. Alright, now I'm going to go inside and put together some of our slaw. I'm using bag slaw this time, even though I have some in the garden, but we just have to speed things up because the kids are getting hungry. Then we want a teaspoon of rice wine vinegar, then maybe about half a teaspoon of this fish sauce. You can omit this if you don't like it, but it brings a lot of umami flavors. Then some zest of some lime to bring it through. Now, the last thing that we need is going to be a little bit of green onion. We're only going to use the green tops here because I would just want to garnish those in the top of the bowls. So go ahead and slice them up, and I do these at diagonals. That gives a little bit of interesting texture. I set those whites aside. I'm going to use those for another recipe, so just make sure we don't throw them away. As I mentioned, the kids were getting hungry, so I took some of that rice from the rice cooker, put some of the broccoli, the slaw, and the chicken on there, with a few of the garnishes of those scallions. Then a drizzle of that bang bang sauce. Again, we can use more of this if they want it, but I would put just a little bit on it first, and then the kids can put more if they want to. Alright, dinner's ready. Doesn't that look delicious? Now let's dig in. This is comfort with a kick. Bang bang chicken rice bowls that'll wake up your weeknight dinner routine. Alright, dinner's done. Dishes can wait. Everybody's happy. If that's not a win, I don't know what is. Catch you next time. Same kitchen, new chaos. On Dad, what are you making?